The Jon Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast. Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
All right, good to be back with you. It is 44 degrees in South Florida today. We turn on the heat once a year. Ken Flo, today's the day.
That's wild. It's been cold as hell over here. We got hit with snow. There was ice. There's ice on the ground a little bit here today too. Yeah. So South Florida gets that cold. I had no idea.
Well, I didn't necessarily know it got that cold, right? And my stubborn son wants to go outside with like nothing on him. So maybe he'll pay for it. Getting flannel flow for a second straight week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. It's Monday, January 24th. The year is 2022. It's episode 333, I believe. Probably should have booked Triple C. All right, a lot to get to today. Man, some crazy stuff in the NFL on Sunday. I would just suggest off the top to our international viewers and listeners, if you don't follow the NFL, may want to start. Find a team, and we can help you with that. We're not going to be homers and tell you to become New England Patriots fans, although it's going to be tough for them for the next couple of years. So maybe it's a good time to get on board with the Pats as a non-front-running team. But if you're an international fan that doesn't have a dog in the fight, I would softly suggest that you become an NFL fan. You know, I tried to get into soccer, football, a while back, followed Man City for a little bit because my younger brother was a really big Manchester City fan. Couldn't really get into it, but maybe I should start again. All right, today's episode of the Anik and Florian podcast brought to you by Private Internet Access, America's #1 VPN service. So I learned something new when we signed with PIA, Ken Flo. Did you know that even in incognito mode, your devices are still storing data and selling it to the outside world? I was kind of blown away. Perhaps I shouldn't have been, but fret no more, folks. We've got private internet access to encrypt and reroute our internet activity and even offer us the ability to surf the internet as if we are in one of the 75 countries available. For example, when I'm here in SoFlo, sometimes I like to appear that I'm from West London to watch the Premier League when I got a few shekels on the game, or I'll surf for cheaper prices from Netflix in Eastern Europe to save a bit. Ken Flo, as we sit here today, PIA has come through with a generous offer to our listeners of the Anik and Florian podcast, a whopping 83% off deal that features 4 free months on a 3-year sign-up. You got 30 days to decide if the product is for you or your money back. And with over 30 million downloads worldwide across all platforms like Windows and Mac, we know PIA does not receive many of those money back requests. So all you got to do to take back your internet privacy, head to privateinternetaccess.com/KennyFlorian or check the link in the description on this episode and get linked up with PIA today. That is privateinternetaccess.com/KennyFlorian to take back your internet privacy. All right, time for headlines. UFC 270 is in the can. Gosh, man, this sport, whether it's a card of the year or not, the headlines, it's unbelievable, the news cycle, right? We might have to go 5 days a week at some point when we retire,
Absolutely, man.
Do you think you'll ever take up golf, or are you going to just do like jujitsu forever?
I'm in Golf Central over here. Everyone is asking me if I golf and want to go golfing, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I may have to, but I have so many other hobbies and crap going on. In the near future, probably not, but maybe as I get a little older,
Sorry, ladies, I'm not the golfing type. So it's interesting because golf is very addictive. And I do believe once it would grab you, the problem is it's a huge time commitment. It's a financial commitment. It's a time commitment. It's 5 hours around, maybe less, unless you're DC with your private courses and your access and your bankroll and everything else. My issue is that it's not physical. Like you can walk, right? But I'd rather get a workout if I'm going to devote that much time to something, but I get injured every time I do anything now. So when I play tennis, play basketball, I get fucking injured. Speaking of injured, Francis Ngannou with the knee sleeves, not an issue. I don't dive too deep into the analysis when I'm calling a fight. That is not my job. I try to stay in my lane. Sometimes you'll hear me get analytical, but I would be remiss if off the top I didn't say strategically, and it looked like Francis Ngannou was thinking about a takedown early on in this fight in round 1. And one thing we were told in our fighter meeting this week from Eric Nixick is that Francis Ngannou does handle a lot of his own game plan. A lot of other fighters delegate. And, I didn't lean into it at the time, but I really wasn't surprised later in the fight when he went to it. It worked. He stayed with it. What were your thoughts on an unexpected main event and championship title defense for Francis Ngannou?
We talked about how both of these guys kind of knew each other a little bit. And I think that was going to be interesting as far as what the approach was going to be tactically, strategically. And given the fact that Ngannou went in there, what seems like a pretty major injury to his knee. I was hearing ACL and MCL tear, something crazy like that. That's really difficult for a lot of people to deal with. And the fact that he went out there, and we know him as this extremely dangerous striker, the fact that he was able to add this other wrinkle into his game and utilize something that he's not necessarily known for was extremely impressive and showed an intelligence that I'm not sure we were prepared for. Because if you look at Ciryl Gane, he's been the guy that has gone out there and been very tactical and slick and smooth and smart, whereas Ngannou just goes out there and destroys. This showed a different angle to his abilities. Now, it wasn't always pretty, okay? But the fact that he was able to do this with a injured knee, with all the pressure that was on him, with the contract dispute that was going on outside of the UFC, all that stuff, the fact he was going against a former training partner, a former coach, all that stuff, it seemed like the odds were almost insurmountable in some ways, right? And Ngannou's Ngannou, but how do you throw with the same kind of power if you can't plant well on that injured knee? You can't. So that probably took away from his ability to throw down like he wanted to. And, there's a lot of doubt that can creep into your mind. He's not just going against another dude in the heavyweight division. This is Ciryl Gane, a highly skilled, a highly intelligent fighter. And it's for the belt, to defend his belt. There was so much at stake. And the fact that he was able to go out there and pull this off, and being down 2 rounds, by the way, on 2 out of the 3 judges' scorecards anyway, is extremely impressive. That is what champions are made of. Now, if you know his backstory, you're probably not so surprised. He's dealt with so much adversity in his life. But again, in professional sports, where everybody's watching, all the pressure and everything on the line there, I was just extremely amazed by Francis Ngannou and the way he went about his victory. Again, not always pretty, but combat isn't always pretty. It's not always about that. It's about getting the job done when you need to.
Right. We could do 35 minutes off the top solely on this main event. He was flat early, Francis. Like, he was sluggish early, right? And I think that speaks to the injury. In terms of what Francis is doing and his training, it's about time Dewey Cooper maybe gets a modicum of credit. Certainly Eric Nixick deserves a lion's share of the credit for everything he brings to the table, as sort of a stabilizing mind and a coach. Obviously, it's amazing to think of Nixick as a football player who has devoted his life to this, right? Not a lifelong martial artist by any means,
Absolutely. But, I think what always stands out with Eric is he knows his guys, he knows his fighters, and it's almost like he always has the right things to say. And sometimes you don't always have to be the most knowledgeable, most technical guy. Sometimes your fighter just needs to hear a few words, a few key words to get him going again, or to get him back on track. And that's what Eric is capable of doing. He knows his fighters. He knows what's going to motivate them. He knows what's going to fire them up. He knows what's going to put them back on track. He says the right things at the right time. And man, he's just, he has a way with words. He did a beautiful job in that corner to get Francis going.
And in terms of Francis's training, and we hear all sorts of rumors, injuries, maybe he has a bad day against a middleweight at Extreme Couture in training when there's media in the house. I mean, there's all sorts of information and maybe misinformation out there that you need to sift through. But in terms of his training, like, what do people think he's doing? Like, do they not think that he's improving nor working hard? Like, when he won the belt last March, I said this, and he knew this. He had to go to Batik, Cameroon, where he came from, and bring the belt there. That's what he had to do, And just because he hasn't been the super active champion in his first less than a year, or just, coming up on a year as the champion. Doesn't mean he hasn't been working. And even when he lost to Stipe Miocic in the great city of Boston, Massachusetts in January of 2018, on a night in which he said he didn't even recognize himself when he watched it back, he still won 25 minutes. He still showed you some heart that night when he wasn't even ready for a championship fight. Like I told people, he showed up in Boston 3 years ago for our fighter meeting for Stipe with the media grind and everything else. He walks into the hotel meeting room and he puts his head down on the table. I'm like, we don't even need to do this. You can go. Like, and we didn't do a fighter meeting with Francis before the Stipe fight because he needed to go fucking sleep. Now he is sort of mastered handling all of that. In terms of this fight and Ciryl Gane, our producer was joking off the air that Ciryl Gane was not diving into the release of the Kenny Florian Essentials YouTube series that just went out over the weekend. But I do believe Ciryl Gane is going to probably realize an undisputed championship at some point. I do think a lot of these superlatives remain accurate in terms of his striking and everything else. You ain't going to me for your expertise on that. But I do think he was a little overrated as a guy who turned pro in 2018. What do you got for me on Ciryl Gane? And then, of course, we'll circle back to Francis.
With Ciryl, I've always seen a guy who has executed really well. It seemed like he's always been very composed, very technical in his approach. This fight, he never quite seemed comfortable. Even when he won those early rounds, he never seemed like he was settled in and never got into a rhythm. Ciryl Gane is very much a rhythm-based fighter. He likes to get in that little bouncing stance. He gets his footwork going. And while he did show some of that, it wasn't the same Ciryl Gane that I'm used to. I think a lot of that has to do, of course, with the forward pressure of Ngannou and the threat of having a man like Ngannou in front of him, right? So he's fully aware that 4-ounce gloves plus Francis Ngannou's fists is a dangerous thing to deal with. So he never seemed really comfortable in there. But what I saw more than anything else, and it's important to note, John, I think you're right. Listen, he did pick up the sport relatively, soon. He hasn't been doing this forever. And what I saw was a lack of, I guess, proper decision-making. If you are on top of Francis Ngannou, you are not trying to just go for some or any submission. It seemed like he had in his mind that he was going to try to attack a leg. And maybe it was because he had those knee braces on or whatever, or maybe he thought that Francis was susceptible to that, or maybe that's his move. But that wasn't the right decision. If you have Francis Ngannou on his back and there's a few minutes left, you stay on top of him, chip away. That would have been the round. Literally one decision can change the fight, okay? Especially at the highest levels in the UFC, championship on the line. If he decided to just put his chest in the sternum of Francis Ngannou and just chip away body, head, he would have won that fight.
Yeah.
He would have won that fight. He decided to step back, go for that leg lock. Francis, again, very intelligently came up with it, used that momentum to get on top. He had top control for the majority of that round and won it because of that. So big time mistake there by Ciryl Gane that I'm sure is going to haunt him for a while. That is really where he failed. And I don't think he was prepared for that takedown game. And I think he was exposed grappling wise. He showed a lack of grappling skill. He showed that Ngannou was the better wrestler. So he's got some work to do. And I'm sure he'll be better because of it.
So there was one point in time where it seemed as though, and we didn't get the whole 60 seconds of the between rounds, but Fernand Lopez wasn't necessarily imparting anything in terms of appreciable tactical advice. He was just saying, we can't lose this fight. It's impossible for us to lose this fight. And there was undeniably an emotional component to this fight for Fernand Lopez and for Ciryl Gane, much more so than for Francis Ngannou. And that's just my read on the ground. I think Lopez and Gane were both affected by the press conference. I think Gane was certainly affected by the fact that Francis wouldn't acknowledge him as a former teammate. Now, I'm not saying it reared its head in the fight, but Francis did say that Fernand Lopez's ego was going to rear its ugly head in this fight. And, maybe to whatever degree it did. But I just think that there were components to this fight, 30-foot octagon, pageantry, fans, non-COVID protocol. I mean, there were just a lot of different things that maybe Ciryl Gane wasn't accustomed to. And I think that you can't necessarily make excuses on that front, but I don't know, man. I think it was a lot for him to deal with, and I do think he's going to come back a different fighter. But there's work to be done. There's no doubt.
I think so as well. And you bring up a great point about coaching, right? I think that anytime, and I've never been in that situation, but I can imagine, and I've seen it with other fighters, and I've heard other coaches talk about this and project this on their fighters, which is a horrible thing to do. But if you're going against a former student, a former, fighter or whatever, and now you have a new guy, you think about that emotional attachment there, and you start projecting that on your student, like, you have to win. This is so important. We got to shut this guy up and blah, blah. And that doesn't help you at that point.
No.
You're fighting a dude who you already want to beat. Like, you don't need any more motivation than the guy who's out there trying to take your head off. And to put that extra pressure on a guy, it can shut him down and can almost feel like now you're taking on the responsibility, or that pressure that your coach has. You're putting that on your back and now fighting with that, which can really debilitate you as a fighter.
You put that well, and I do think, and I love Fernand, that he did maybe inadvertently add some extra pressure. And by his own admission, he said he had the most to lose. And by the way, he did thank me for the Anik and Florian podcast award.
Hey!
So Fernand Lopez paying attention. Before we get back to Francis, in terms of who is next for Ciryl Gane, and maybe this is me just channeling my inner Joe Silva, and certainly I think Gane is a guy in France that they want to build back up. And again, I think the world of Ciryl Gane, particularly as a human being. But I'd give him Curtis Blades in a 5-round main event like fucking this. I'd be like, let's see, right? I'm going to give you the most decorated wrestler in UFC heavyweight history, the guy with the most takedowns of all time, for more reasons than one. I don't think there are a ton of obvious matchups right now. I mean, if Tommy Aspinall gets by Alexander Volkov, I think a Ciryl Gane, Tom Aspinall eliminator of sorts as a main event makes the world of sense. But Ciryl Gane fought Alexander Volkov, so if Volkov wins, that's not an option. I don't believe Blades has a fight. Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa are fighting. Like, I'm doing Ciryl Gane versus Curtis Blades, and hopefully he gets 12 weeks of wrestling and a lot of big bodies to get ready for Curtis Razor Blades. What do you think about the immediate, if not long-term future for Ciryl Gane?
Yeah, listen, and Stipe Miocic, of course, waiting in the wings as well, who has that wrestling background. Yeah, so I think that for Ciryl Gane, he needs to go back to the drawing board and reconstruct his game a bit. Get judokas, get wrestlers in there that he can work with to improve his takedown defense, his takedown offense, and kind of go back and look at that fight and see where he made those mistakes and how he can improve in those areas. I think that, it wasn't like it was a lot of mistakes necessarily, but there were critical ones. And I think, it could expose maybe not a lot of gaps, but some big ones, right? So those are the ones that you need to really shore in because, that would be a big time vulnerability if you were to face someone like a Curtis Blades or a Stipe Miocic. That's the problem with staying champion for so long is that, the more people that fight you, the better the blueprint gets for the other guy. People are looking at those weaknesses. Like, okay, that worked, that didn't, that worked, that didn't, that worked. So, for Ciryl Gane, maybe even for Francis Ngannou, you got to look at those things and constantly get better because everybody's watching that division.
Yeah. I don't think Stipe is going to fight Ciryl Gane. With respect, right? Stipe has been calculated. He's fought once a year. He hasn't fought since last March. I don't think you take a year off to fight the interim champ coming off a loss.
He wants Ngannou.
Right. I mean, I think he wants Francis or John Jones. If it's a non-championship situation for Stipe, it's got to be John Jones. So we'll see what happens. Francis Ngannou potentially might never fight for the UFC again. I mean, there's so many different layers to that. I would like to see Francis Ngannou fight Stipe because they are 1-1. What do you think about Francis Ngannou? It's easy for us to sit here and say he wouldn't be competitive in a boxing setting against Tyson Fury, so I'm not sure I want to spend a whole lot of time on that. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you would switch to boxing other than monetary reasons, and I guess that would be the why, right? He's 35 years old. I want him to get that life-changing money, of course. But now that he's such an outstanding wrestler and grappler, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but now that he probably has all these good emotions about wrestling and grappling, why are you going to go fucking box now? Stay with us.
Right. Well, the thing is, it's like, for mixed martial arts fighters, they should be sticking to what they do best. It's enticing. You want to go out there and you want to get that big money, but, that's just not what you do. Mixed martial arts fighting is completely different than boxing.
Yeah.
And Ngannou has that kind of power where perhaps he could do well. Tyson Fury, though, is one of the best heavyweight boxers that I've seen. And it would be a very difficult matchup for him. I agree on that front. If we could talk about Jon Jones for a second, because I think for those of you who may have been, dismissive of Jon Jones or thinking that maybe he wouldn't have a chance, I think this fight helped Jon Jones in a lot of ways, because you look at Jon Jones, his experience, his skills everywhere, his ability to perform under big time pressure. I don't know. I don't know if Cyril Gane or Francis Ngannou beats Jon Jones. I think, you know what I mean? I think this made that fight, I think, more possible.
Yeah.
And much more interesting in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Francis can knock out anybody in the world if he catches them. But Jon Jones, I think, is still a different type of animal. And I'm really curious to see him compete in the heavyweight division.
In terms of that fight happening, Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones, promotionally, it's one of the biggest fights that can possibly be put together. Yeah. To me, it just feels like a dream, right? Like I'm not worthy, right? Like, are they really going to get Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou in there for International Fight Week in July? I got to see it to believe it. But yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, like, what's the bigger fight right now, Stipe versus Francis or Jon Jones versus Francis? I mean, I think they're both great options, but yeah, I would certainly wet my fucking beak with both of those. Is there anything else that we need to hit on? I guess we're going to get to Ray Longo. Ray Longo not thrilled with the early start time today. Our producer Cody is a man in high demand, so he had an early call time today. So this is one of the few morning episodes of the Anik and Florian podcast. I'm trying to pull up the text from Ray.
I'm predicting that Longo's going to have a hat on. There's no way he took a shower and is prepared by now. His hair's not ready for this. I don't think. I don't know.
Certainly didn't brush his teeth, Kenny. So, Ray, Cody has to be done taping by 11 a.m. or so tomorrow. Any chance you can do 10:30 a.m. or is that too early? And he said, I'll be cranky, but let's do 10:30. So, all right.
I love it. Cranky
Let's
Ray's my
move
favorite.
on. Yeah. And I'm so happy for Francis, by the way. I really am really happy for him. I think a lot of people in the public eye, present company included, kind of feel perpetually misunderstood by people. I think a lot of people maybe who watch us on TV compared to what they see here, right? A little bit different. So I'm really happy for Francis and for Eric Nixick and for the squad. All right. Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno are now 1-1-1 through 3 fights. Unanimous decision, 48-47 times 3 goes to the now 2-time UFC flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo. That in and of itself is a tremendous accomplishment. Lose your belt, rebuild, gain it back. Aren't a lot of 2-time champions. I mean, it's one thing to have a sustained championship run, but Dominic Cruz coming back and winning his belt. And one of the visuals I never thought I'd see in my life, Ken Flo, Davison Figueiredo running up the stairs to get on a scale and weigh 124 pounds, juxtaposed against staring death in the face last June when Waleed Ismail was legitimately concerned. What are your thoughts on what was a very hotly contested, close, competitive, not controversial main event or co-main event?
What a fight. What a damn fight between two savages, and we all knew that. I mean, that's just the way that those guys are built. That's the way that they fight. For me, I thought it was back and forth. I thought it was very close myself. I need to go back and watch it again. But I don't have a problem with Davison winning. Some people was like, Moreno definitely won the fight. No one definitely won the fight, in my opinion. I thought it was super close, but both guys I thought fought brilliantly. Davison did all the work. It was clear from his weight cut to moving out and training with Henry Cejudo and the guys in Arizona. He just looked on point. He looked focused. He was way more disciplined, I think, throughout that fight as well. I think that's where he lacked in the previous fights. He didn't seem so disciplined. He seemed a little overly emotional. That wasn't really the case for me here. I thought he was really well prepared. For Brandon Moreno, I think he was exposing his head a little bit too much. I didn't like it. Even in the first round, he kind of was holding his head high, almost like he was trying to bait Figueiredo in a little bit to try to get him on the counter, it seemed. But when you're doing that, as the fight went on, I was like, no, this is a habitual thing that he's doing. And as he's trading, that chin is starting to come up, and you cannot do that against a truly powerful puncher in Deiveson Figueiredo. Brandon Moreno can pop as well, but he doesn't have that same kind of punching power that Figueiredo did. And Figueiredo putting him on his butt, I think, was the difference. Even when Moreno was winning, and then Figueiredo would catch him, put him on his butt, and that was what was allowing him to steal those rounds, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the leg kicks were a little bit of a problem. But for me, Moreno sticking his head up just a little bit and allowing Figueiredo to land those big shots, I think was a major issue, and something that absolutely needs to be rectified in the future.
So I asked Deiveson Figueiredo in the fighter meeting how hard it was being away from his now 3-year-old son, Benicio, for what was really an extended amount of time. And he paused for what seemed like an eternity, and it looked like maybe he was crying behind sunglasses. And then he just said, it was very hard. And that was it. And I don't think people quite realize the sacrifice. They see this guy who, will slit your throat or whatever and don't understand what he's dealing with. They spent 12 weeks alone, Ken Flo, just on distance management and trying to get him to understand risk mitigation and range. And, it's just very interesting when you hear everybody talk about what they did and then you see it all sort of pay dividends in the fight. And the two things, I don't know if you heard me say this on broadcast, but Henry Cejudo's biggest value to Figueiredo, patience, right? Like that I just kept hearing the word patience, and game plan. Deiveson's natural inclination is to just go out there, try to kill a man, not to necessarily stick to a game plan. So to fight your natural instincts, just couldn't have more praise for all of the individuals that he surrounded himself with and the individual commitment that he made to get his belt back.
Those two things were the difference, really. I mean, you watch Figueiredo fight, he's got the talent, he's got the physical skills, he's got the mindset. I think those were the things that separated him from Moreno in this fight, which was absolutely brilliant. Just beautiful mixed martial arts all the way around. The pacing, the pressure was awesome. Truly a fun game of chess to watch out there between those two. Give me a fourth fight. I want to see it again. I think both these guys want it as well. And they're going to continue to entertain. And, these guys could probably go back and forth for, 10, 11 fights. I love it. I love the way they fight. Two champions right there. Awesome to see. And, I think that we will see it for a fourth time.
And you hear Brandon Moreno, even at the Thursday post-fight press conference, that candidly got a little bit weird for my liking, but Moreno's like, you're a good guy, man. And Figueiredo is a good guy. And he's such a good guy, honestly, that he wants to fight him in Tijuana. He doesn't want any home field advantage in Brazil. This was going to be the toughest fight, I think, of Figueiredo's career, honestly, to prove to himself that he could beat a guy. And by the way, the physical maturation of Brandon Moreno is insane. I mean, looks completely different, and that I thought was very interesting, that technically Moreno's camp maybe felt so good about last June's fight that maybe they leaned almost too much into just the strength and conditioning. You saw he was being coached right after the decision came out, and he was waiting, Moreno was, for his post-fight interview. He was already being coached about the things that he had done wrong. If you think this was a robbery, maybe you're either Mexican or you should turn in your card for watching mixed martial arts. I thought it was close. I mean, when Daniel Cormier heard the decision, it looked like there was some surprise to my right from him that Moreno didn't win the fight. But judges are so discouraged, Kenny, from scoring rounds 10-10. You're forced to pick a winner. I don't know, man. I guess I would have to rewatch it to score it. But, I just thought it was a close fight. And to your point, they got to do it a fourth time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I have no problem. I have no problem with Figueiredo winning that fight. It absolutely could lay a claim to that. Yeah, I thought he fought brilliantly. And at the critical moments when he needed to do something, he often did. And,
right.
Again, huge credit to Henry Cejudo, Eric Albarracin, and those guys who really had the best Deiveson Figueiredo that I've ever seen. So great stuff there.
And, the captain, Eric Albarracin, and I love hearing you say his name. I mean, the dude is fucking out there, like 25 years from now, if I'm even still alive and maybe even writing a book, like I'd probably put Captain's name in there because this MMA circus, this roadshow is filled with all of these different characters. And he's a really good individual. You and I got to know him obviously way back in the day, but he's doing something right, man. I mean, look at all these world champions, I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's another guy, not only does he have the technical knowledge coming from that wrestling background and competitive background, but he's another guy like Nixick who says the right things. Yep. He knows how to get inside a fighter's head and say the right things and motivate them and have them focused.
Real quickly, in terms of the flyweight division, I really am glad it stuck around. I really am excited to see these guys fight for a fourth time. I do think that's the direction in which they are going to go. Askar Askarov is fighting Kai Kara-France, right? Now, what's crazy, and I said this on the post show, so if you heard this, I apologize if it's repetitive, but what's so crazy about this, you saw Figueiredo was very thankful for this opportunity against Moreno, because given the way the second fight went, this wasn't guaranteed. And had Askar Askarov or Alexandre Pantoja been healthy, those would have been the guys that got the opportunity against Brandon Moreno, which is fucking crazy. If you don't know, Pantoja has history with Moreno, submitted him on The Ultimate Fighter, but Moreno's never been finished as a professional. And then Pantoja beat Moreno by decision as a pro. So those guys have history. So Moreno, Pantoja, Pantoja, this is sort of frustrating for him. Like, he needed cleanliness of a Moreno win. So I think they do this for a fourth time. I think Manel Kopp eventually is going to factor in this equation. There's probably a name or two that I'm forgetting. But very interesting stuff in the UFC's flyweight division. All right, God, there's so many performances we have to get to. Like, we got to get to Jack Della Maddalena, and I just don't know if we're going to get the time. Perth is so far away from Miami. It gives me anxiety. Every time I say Della Maddalena, I think about an itinerary from Miami to LA to Brisbane, and then a 5-hour layover before Brisbane to Perth. It's like 36 hours door to door. All right, Michel Pereira over Andre Fialho by unanimous decision. I mean, this could have been the fight of the night as well. A lot of blood, a lot of high-level technique, a lot of heart, grit, glory, guts. Ken Flo, what do you got for me on the featured bout at welterweight, brother?
That was a fun fight, man. We had talked about the potential for this fight and how exciting it probably was going to be, and man, was it. Listen, Pereira, for me, really impressed me. I thought that, coming back after that first round, we were going to find out what he was all about, and we found out that this guy, he's got a lot of heart. He made the proper adjustments. He still stayed aggressive. He kept that aggression, but he just fought a little bit smarter and did what he needed to do, was really attacking the body again with those front kicks, which was a thing of beauty, those blitzing attacks, and kept Filial from pressuring him. And he was backing up Filial, which I thought was brilliant. So I thought those adjustments were critical. I think it's going to be a key fight in his evolution as a fighter. He is a phenomenal athlete, man. The way that he moves and how fast he is as a welterweight. I mean, there are very few bantamweights that are as fast as he is. Truly. I mean, his speed is phenomenal to watch. Maybe not the most powerful guy as far as knockout power, but it's speed that kills. And his variety in his weapons and how he does it is phenomenal. He still needs to shore up his defense when it comes to grappling. That needs to be sharper. It needs to be better. But the fact that he was able to deal with that pressure, make the adjustments, I think this was a critical point in his career for him to gain confidence and momentum moving forward yet again. And awesome fight. Awesome fight.
I'm really happy for Michel Pereira. Again, another good guy. You get to know these guys in the fighter meetings. 4 straight wins for him. And, he really embraces the spotlight and fight night. And he sort of says to us in a humble moment, he's like, I'm celebrating the end of training camp, motherfuckers, right? Like, when I'm walking out, Hayes in the barn, the hard work is done. Like, I'm celebrating that I get to go showcase my skills. Now, in terms of doing that, I'd like to see him highlight chase a little bit less. And I don't know if he's ever going to be able to chase those stripes. But there was a time in this fight where he landed some bombs with his hands on Fialho. He had him sort of crumbling his way up against the fence, and he chooses to throw a flying knee. And if he just stays with the hands there, I think he gets his knockout. So I think there are moments where he has guys on the ropes, and then for some reason, he wants to do he wants the knockout by cartwheel kick or something, So I do think that he needs to stop highlight chasing, but other than that, no complaints. He's outstanding.
I think that's a great point. I think that was really what plagued him early on in his UFC career, right? It's still with him. I think it's what makes him so dangerous, having that flash or having that, allure of being a little bit fancy when he doesn't necessarily need to. So yeah, I mean, some more fundamentals should have come into play there, but I don't know. It's hard to put a leash on a guy like that.
Right.
I think because you have to allow that creativity and that flash to come out because that's who he is. But I agree, there were times where if he just kind of sat down on his punch and threw a right cross, he would have got the knockout. So yeah, he's got to go back, watch some footage with his coaches, and see what is going to be the best approach in those moments.
Yeah, you put it well. I mean, there are two things for me in that moment, right? Energy expenditure, long term. How much does it take out of you to throw a flying knee versus throw a punch? And then the percent chance that it lands. Like, you're giving Fialho a chance to, and I love Andre too, but it's like you're giving him a chance to get back in the fight because there's probably a 15% chance that flying knee lands right on the button. It's like a switch up fucking high level, high degree of difficulty move.
I think it's a great point, dude. And also, like, against a guy like a Fialho, like, what happens if he comes back into the fight? Like, you miss that opportunity. He's too dangerous of a guy and has too good of a chin to let him back into the fight. So when you have guys hurt like that, you want to make sure that they're not able to get back into the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were a lot of people who were bullish on both sides of this bout between Said Nurmagomedov and Cody Stamann. Bilal Muhammad on these very airwaves on Remember the Show thought this was Nurmagomedov easy, and not because his last name was Nurmagomedov, right? Then on the other side, you got handicappers every which way trotting out Cody Stamann plus 170. My God. Right. A lot of angles to what was a very quick 47-second fight. I know Stamann is massively disappointed in terms of this result and his execution, but Said Nurmagomedov is a fucking G. Bonus, he'd been out a while, so he's sort of the forgotten man a little bit in the bantamweight division, and I can't wait to see what Shelby or Maynard or whomever does with him next because he is a problem.
He's a problem. He's a big time problem. I love his style, his ability to go out there and both have to be fundamentally sound and to have that flash and to go out there and finish you in a variety of ways. Like if you're a guy who's going to fight him next and you're looking at that last fight against Cody Stamann, you're like, right. How am I going to beat that guy? He didn't do that to some guy making his UFC debut. He did that against Cody Stamann, dude, a guy who has been around the block and back, a guy who's a very good wrestler. He knows his submission game. He's a dangerous striker as well. And he made it look easy, man. Like, that was easily Said's best performance of his career. He is someone to watch. I don't think there's a whole lot of guys lining up to fight that guy right now. I mean, boy, did he deliver.
Just incredible. Just incredible. Yeah, Cody Stamann was 19-4-1 going in. Bantamweight is just on fire. I mean, my goodness, there have been times in the past where people have talked about doing special cards where you would just have, the whole main card would be bantamweight fights. And I believe Joe Silva did it one time, if memory serves, UFC 146 with the all heavyweight main card.
Yep.
I think it was Mir Dos Santos in the main event, but gosh, go look at the top 20 or so at 135 pounds. It's absolutely insane. So on a night in which 4 fighters from Brandon Moreno's Entrim gym competed, the only one to win was 22-year-old Michael Morales out of Ecuador. Ended up being a pick'em fight at close against Trevin Giles, who was a divisional newcomer. And Morales is really an interesting story. Wrestling chops, both parents judo black belts, lifelong martial artist, but still just 22. Got an opportunity to leave Ecuador, moved to Tijuana, joined the Entrim gym, got the opportunity, packed and left the next day. He's been there for a year. This was a really difficult test, I thought, for a UFC debut, kicking off a pay-per-view. And man, did he pass this test with flying colors. It's amazing to see somebody at 22 years old come in and maximize a showcase like this.
It's awesome. Again, I had the opportunity to see those guys work together. They are super close. The whole team, they're all pushing each other. They're all extremely motivated individuals who are training hard 2-3 times a day. and they believe in the system that they're in, and of course with Brandon Moreno as well, former champion now, leading the way, they know they have the right blueprint, the right game plan to move forward and rise up those ranks in the UFC. So they really have put together a great camp. I'm not surprised by that result. He's been working hard and awesome to see.
By the way, how about Brandon Moreno, since you just brought him up again, owning that loss like right away, right? While so much of the fan base is like, man, you won that fight. He's like, yeah, maybe he landed the more powerful shots. It's pretty rare, I think, to see a guy own like a close championship loss in that moment the way he did.
Dude, what makes Brandon great is the fact that he's always improving. You don't get better unless you're looking at yourself, unless you're really analyzing and being critical and having good people around you that are telling you what you're doing wrong in the fight. And Moreno is a humble dude. He comes from a place where he had to work hard for everything, and he'll be able to see things like that with clarity. And I think the fact that he's saying that immediately after the fight says a lot about who he is. And I expect to continue to see a better Brandon Moreno next time out.
And you really got to be careful suggesting that a fighter is overconfident, especially if you're me, the non-athlete, It does too confident sound softer. I just think he just did not think there was a man in the world at 125 pounds that could beat him. And, he's so sort of buoyed by the fact that he can't be finished. I just think there's this aura of invincibility, and I think this is going to be good for Brandon Moreno. But they got to fight for a fourth time. All right, Cody's telling me not to shortchange Victor Henry.
Yes.
I mean, did you watch the post-fight show? He's my new favorite fighter. La Mangosta, the mongoose, trained under the great Josh Barnett. I mean, that's a memorable UFC debut. Raoni Barcelos has flirted with the rankings, beats him 30-27 as like a plus 375 underdog. Good on Victor Henry. What do you make of the Southgate, California product making good on the debut?
He wasn't on my radar. He is now. Yeah. Barcelos can wrestle. He can strike. He has experience. And I did not know what to expect really from Victor Henry. What I saw in Victor Henry is a guy who was extremely well schooled, who was very intelligent, who was slick and calm under pressure. I came away extremely impressed because it seemed to me like he knew exactly what he needed to do in the right moments. He was making the proper adjustments, yet he was never getting shut down through that analysis. He would push back forward. He would land the shots that he needed to land in order to win the round, and just making all the right decisions. To me, it seemed like he was a guy with 15, 20 fights in the UFC. You don't see guys make a UFC debut like that and do it against an experienced killer like Barcelos. And it was almost like very matter of fact, like he's like, that's what I expected to do. On to the next. Let's go. So brilliant performance. Josh Barnett, a very intelligent guy who, of course, has fought at the highest levels all over the world. I'm not necessarily surprised by that they can produce guys like that, but I think they've kind of coached each other over the years. So again, awesome to see. Victor Henry's a guy to watch, man. Awesome performance.
So the action man, Chris Curtis, I think it took him 26 wins to get to the UFC. It took Victor Henry 21 wins to get to the UFC, so to speak. But you could argue that if Chris Curtis had gotten to the UFC in 2015, then maybe he wouldn't still be in the UFC. When he got there, he was ready to beat guys like Phil Hawes and Brendan Allen. I don't know about Victor Henry, I kind of feel like maybe he would have been ready, 3-4 years ago, and he just sort of was calm about the fact that eventually he was going to get to the UFC. But like, how does someone like you, who 3 times fought for a UFC title, like quantify Victor Henry's ceiling at bantamweight now? Because, Rogan pulled off the cans and was like, what's Barcelos' ranking? And I'm like, he's not ranked. And he's like, what? Like, so like, how good can Victor Henry be? And like, rhetorically, I'd ask, like, why wasn't he in the UFC already?
Dude, Victor Henry can absolutely be an elite, bantamweight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to make sure I got that right. Victor Henry's a guy who probably could have been in the UFC earlier, but John, the most common question I get is, how many fights should I have? When do you think is the right time for me to be in the UFC? And I always say, probably 5 fights after you think you should be in the UFC is usually my answer, because getting that experience outside of the UFC is huge. You want to be ready to go straight away. So, I think for Victor Henry, he is clearly ready. He was ready for the bright lights of the UFC. He was ready for Barcelos. And this is a guy that I will not be surprised if he's a top 10, top 5 guy in the bantamweight division. I think he's that good. And especially, again, that was his UFC debut. Came away very impressed.
All right, well, good news is Ray Longo has answered the wake-up call for 10:30 a.m. Eastern on a Monday. Now, if you don't know, Ray Longo worked extensively with Matt the Steamroller Frevola during his 14-week training camp. I mean, Frevola has had all these crazy circumstances in his UFC career, losing opponents left and right, short notice, right? He was supposed to fight Otman Azaitar and always getting switched up. They're always giving him lefties on short notice when he prepares for righties. But this time around, he had 14 weeks, and he worked with Longo extensively on shoring up his defense and movement and everything else. And then Longo can't pass his COVID test. So if you didn't see Longo in the corner, I was trying to figure out, because he had worked so closely with Ray over the last 14 weeks, how I was going to softly mention this on the broadcast. And so I think what I said was that Longo wasn't able to get past the COVID test, so unfortunately he's not here. Ray, it's great to see you on a Monday morning. I don't know if you heard me say that on the broadcast, but I hope you're okay with my messaging. Good to see you.
Oh, definitely. Listen, this one was really mild, man. I'll be honest with you. But you know what's funny? I had gone Monday. I go to get my COVID test. I get the PCR, and it comes back Tuesday negative. So I sent it to Frevola. I'm on my way. Well, let me say Monday I got it at 2:00. They put an expedite on it. It came back negative. But Monday night, my throat started feeling a little bad. And I had a bunch of buddies who had it that said the throat is like, it's on fire. It sucks, But so I'm like, oh, man. So I pack it right away. Not with anything crazy, just like Mucinex, Flonase, whatever I get, I got. Yeah. And I don't go in Tuesday. I go, let me just play it safe. I got to get on a plane Thursday. And then it's, on a scale of 1 to 2, it's mild. It's like a 2 maybe, Right. So I'm like, let me just take the rapid test then. Because I don't want it, because I'm not vaccinated. So I'd have to get tested when I got there. So I could screw up the kid's fight. That's the issue. And he's had to
deal with a lot of shit already when it comes to that. So like we couldn't.
So this is the issue. So now I'm panicking. I'm like, I want to fuck that. He did have a great camp. Not that I'm not saying extensively, but I was with this guy long enough that we had a good time this camp. I mean, I really enjoyed his craziness, and he's just a great kid. But anyway, so now I'm testing positive with the rapid test. Wednesday I test positive. Thursday I go, can we switch my flight to Friday? Because I don't feel bad. Now my throat's even gone. The throat lasts for like a day, maybe. Yeah. And then that's gone. And I'm like, I don't know. But let's just say what the problem is, that if I was vaccinated, I'm at the fight and I'm spreading COVID for sure. Because I didn't feel bad. Right. You know what I mean? That's the issue. I don't know what the fuck California was doing. So I would have been good if I was vaccinated.
Yeah. Right.
I already got my test. I was getting on the plane.
Right.
If I just, because of what's happened to Frevola, I was extra careful. Yeah. And I go, I can't do this. And then I had to call him and go, hey, look, man, we had a great camp. Just do what you do. And he's good with that. That's one thing. Like, he's really not a high maintenance type of guy. He's just a nice kid. And he really, I'm not saying he got to show it, but he did tune up a lot of things, and he had great sparring in camp, and people saw the difference. And I'm just happy for him, because I think his back was against the wall. It was his last fight on his contract, and he had lost 2 in a row. So I really don't want to, take any chances with him. And he's he's a great kid. He's got a great wife, great family, the whole thing. So I'm glad it worked out good for him. I couldn't have been happy, man. I
saw him at the airport, bet on himself, hoping to get a new 4-fight contract from the UFC. My twin brother came out for UFC 270, and when he was trying to decide whether or not to go, one of the things that actually pushed him over the edge was the fact that Longo was going to be there. So needless to say, he was disappointed, as our viewers are right now, because they can only see half your fucking face. I mean, do you mind? And I'm the asshole, right? Right? Like,
oh, wait.
Longo's not a dick for every week coming on here and refusing to center up his mug. I'm the asshole for calling him out for it, right? right? No, seriously.
No, you're just the asshole. You don't have to call me out.
It really
It's just the way it is. I mean, look, there's 3 guys in the room. Somebody's got to be the asshole, John.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting
Just
killed.
by odds. The odds
is
of
amazing.
life.
Absolutely amazing. Perpetual.
Wait, let me just say something. I heard you talk about that kid Henry. Fantastic. Let me tell you something. The way he was rolling big punches, absolutely phenomenal.
Slick.
Absolutely phenomenal. I mean,
man, the fucking mongoose.
He did
All
unbelievable.
All right, so I want to ask you about Francis Ngannou and Ciryl Gane. What did you make of the fight? And I'll lay out and let you talk.
Give me a hint. What do you want me to say?
Oh, you want a more specific question?
Well,
from the
I mean, the guy
journalist?
looked like. You want me to say he looked like Fred Astaire with his footwork? What do you want me to say? Like, I don't.
How surprised were you after 2 rounds to
that
Gane?
He laid on him.
I don't. Yeah,
that he fell on him and laid on him. No, what do you? Just ask me something specific. Was I picked Gane to win by decision,
right?
And if the guy didn't have the fight IQ of a clothespin, he would have definitely won. I don't. What do you want me to say about the fight?
Why did he go for that leg lock, Ray? Why did he do it?
Kenny, let me tell you something.
Stayed on top and what?
Kenny, come on, man. If I would have went absolutely apeshit, and I'll tell you what happened. But yeah, first off, unless you're Kenny's guy, Ryan Hall, you just don't do that. He's the only guy that does it. That's it. Nobody else. Him, the other guy, Paul Harris. Remember him?
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that leg would have been gone.
Yeah. Hustamar Pliatis. So here's a tweet from John Jones. If this is the apex of heavyweight fighting, I'm excited about it. Got some more records to break. So when I'm doing the post show and I see that tweet, right? If this is the apex, what is that fucking noise? Oh, that's
you know, even my dog thinks you're an asshole.
There you go. Yeah, unbelievable. I actually almost called you before the show because in all seriousness, I'm dealing with like a rib and chest injury. And I was going to call you and be like, hey man, like if I don't laugh today, don't be sensitive because it just fucking kills me every time I laugh. If this is the apex of heavyweight fighting, I'm excited about it. Like that's a great fucking quote. Is it not? That's a great quote.
Yeah, I can't argue with him. Look, let me say this. Francis was injured and it showed. Lucky, you agree with that or no?
He wants to get a word in. He definitely does.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, the dog is now on camera. For all of our
Why don't we do the interview like this?
That's fine. Keep talking, please. At least the dog would probably have the decency to center his.
Yeah, look. Francis had a knee injury, John. I mean, there wasn't. I don't even know if there was a punch landed standing up by. I don't. It was just It was a. I think Jon Jones, as much as I don't like him, I think he's. Damn.
I mean,
I think he's got every. What is going on today?
If your public approval rating wasn't so high, I think some people would be like, "All right, this is starting to get annoyed," but they all love you.
Wait a minute.
What's the dog's name? Lucky. We're trying to do a fucking podcast, Lucky.
All right, look, I get.
Again,
he wants Ray's attention. He's not liking the
holy shit.
Yeah,
I might have to get crazy over here. But anyway,
so you didn't like the man.
Yeah, so it was look, for a heavyweight fight, I think of like a Mike Tyson, moving his head, getting in there, swinging for the fences, going exciting. Just wasn't exciting. I don't know. It was more that Ciryl Gane lost that fight. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Like he was. The takedown stuff was beautiful. Yeah, he mixed that in. We saw some high level grappling and jiu-jitsu down there, which was good. I mean, is that it? I mean, is this what you guys? Can I say anything and you'll just sit there and listen? No, seriously.
Oh, Ray's sarcasm is great.
I mean, come on.
Oh man, we should. Ray, here's the problem: is you got on the show at like around 10:30, 10:40, and Cranky Ray is the best Ray. We're going to do this all the time. We're going to wake you up every morning now.
Oh, no, I'm horrible, right? Now, Kenny, this was
It's
bad.
the best.
No, plus, it was 5 days of some sort of sickness. I don't know.
Okay, fair
but
enough.
yeah, I don't know. It reminds me of an old saying: if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there, like there's like 2 trees falling in a forest. Did you hear anything, John? I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear a thing. But Ray, Ngannou was so sluggish and listless early that you could tell that he was afraid to really sit down on anything. Do you disagree?
Yes. No, totally. Look, I did a fight breakdown. I said, look, I think it's going to be like the Black Beast. I think it's a revisit, but a little more exciting.
No,
and that's what
you did call that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the way it was, you know, and I was like, I don't know. Well, again, just ask me something specific.
So, Ray, how about this? How about this?
Fucking guy, man.
How about this? Listen, are you impressed with at least the fact that Francis, right? We had never had to see him really use his grappling skill out there, right? And it's not that it was the prettiest thing in the world, but he got it done. And he did it in a time where, you know, he's in a big-time contract dispute with the UFC. He had all that pressure in the world. Seemed like he tore his ACL and MCL is what I heard. So he was dealing with a lot of shit. The fact that he was able to pull this off, that's got to be impressive, though, right?
Yes, 100%. No, look, I'll get serious. No, the fact that he was able to even change where we know in the beginning of his career that wouldn't have happened, that was really good. But it does look. First off, I like Francis. This has nothing to do. I'm just trying to be entertaining. I'm not. No, this is no bias or nothing. He's got a good camp and great. Seems like a nice guy. It pains me that I listened to his press conference, man, and it's just not happy. Like it's not. It just wasn't a good look. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of sad to me. It wasn't the way a heavyweight fight should be, where you're excited and.
Right.
I thought maybe it was going to look like at one point during the fight, I thought it was going to look like Wilder versus Fury. You know what I mean? I thought this guy could, head movement and make him look bad and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno go the distance. You get up, perhaps get a Grey Goose and soda. Who do you think has won that fight, or do you truly not know?
Man, that's tough. I mean, I think Moreno said it. I think it was volume against impact. You know, I mean, the other guy's shots just looked like they had more of an impact. So that's going to be hard to judge against, and it wasn't like it was crazy volume where he was way out in front of him. And then that was happening. So, man, I like Brandon Moreno. I think they got the right guy. I don't know. That was a tough one. I'd really have to go back and look at it. But those knockdowns did not look good. Right? Nothing crazy happened on the floor. The scrambles were good. They were back up to their feet. That was a tough fight to judge, man. The guy was landing the calf kicks. I think they got that one right.
So we have never seen fighters compete 4 times against one another in the octagon. Never mind doing it 4 times successively, right? Even in past trilogies, I don't know that we've ever had guys fight each other 3 times in a row, Ken Flo, as we've had in this series. I think that's actually a fact. So what do you think? I mean, do you think they rebook these guys in like 6 months in Tijuana? Like, what do you think they do? I think
we're seeing a 4th fight.
So
I think because no matter
cool.
who won, I do think people want to see the fight, right? I mean, that's I would watch that fight again.
Yeah.
And it's that was why. Who'd you guys think won that fight?
I don't know.
I thought it was close. I thought it was close.
No,
I have no problem with Figueiredo winning that fight.
Yeah. It's one of those.
My issue is that I would like to see all the 10-10 language removed from the scoring. Just tell the judges you can't score around 10-10. What am I missing? Why do they need to have the right to score around 10-10, right? Because judges are so discouraged from scoring around 10-10. It's almost like they're being threatened without being threatened. Like if you score around 10-10, you're probably not getting asked back to the next show. They want you to pick a fucking winner. You're there to judge. So just take the language out, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the rounds are so close. And even though you're right, like the damage really should outweigh the volume, but when you have a really close round, like in a 5-round fight, like a judge has to have the right to score around 10-10. Sal D'Amato scored round 1 and Francis gone for Francis. Oh, Cody didn't like that particular scorecard. All right.
No, that's wrong. He was definitely up 2-0 going in there.
So, all right. Anything else for us on UFC?
Let's talk about how good the steamroller did. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal.
That's a guy that looked like he was fighting for his job, no?
Yeah, I got to meet his dad, Sal the Bulldozer Frivola, by the way.
He was
the one who broke the news to me about your COVID-19 positivity.
Fucking bullshit, man.
But no, I feel very happy for Matt. And it is amazing, too. You see a guy at the airport, right? Just the lack of glamour. And, the guy wins a fight, absolute warrior, hands and feet so swollen, Billy Q and Matt Arroyo are going to Florida or wherever the fuck they're going, Buffalo, New York, right? Billy Q probably went to Kansas City for the divisional playoff game, right? But his dad's not around. He's got all his gear himself. It's an interesting thing, man. You see these guys, and I'm really happy for Matt because obviously he might be out.
Yeah, and I tell you, like again, I had a really fun time with him this time. He is a character, but what a sweet kid. It's just. That almost got me. I almost went backwards because I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and
I'm sure
I went out of my mind, and then I was like, "Holy crap! Maybe I wasn't ready for that type of emotional outburst."
And Frivola, we talk about. We gave Davison Figueiredo a lot of credit earlier for just fighting maybe his instincts that are to fight in a more Frivola-like way. And I think for Matt, it's just hard, right? He has such a passion for the exchanges, as Rogan always says, that, his fights are, he's a promoter's dream, but, fights are seemingly always turning out this way.
He's going to, but I do believe he's going to round the corner on that. He really showed so much improvement in the sparring and being patient and stuff like that. But he did get dragged into a little bit more of a fight. That we wanted, but that's the way that guy fights.
Yeah,
he comes forward. He's a crazy man. He tries to push you against the cage, get the takedown at time. So we knew it. That's why I just wanted the footwork, maybe a little more footwork to diffuse that a
Hard
little bit.
Hard to fix that overnight. That's in his DNA,
Yeah. But he was working for a long time. We did have it was a long camp. So you don't always have to be like in camp. Like I just made him go to the boxing class for the first month, so where he couldn't do anything but really work on how to roll punches and just isolate that part of it. And I think that really did him a world of good. I really do. I just really kind of broke it down and went right back to the basics. Didn't get complicated because he has a solid right hand, and he's just got to be able to get it there without getting hit hard himself. And that's what he's working on. I think he's going to be fine, man. Because he's got a very complete game, and he just calms down a little bit and picks his shots and makes guys miss a little bit right now. And he's going to be a different guy.
Yeah. And Genaro
he can get you out of there. You know what I mean? He can get you out with one punch.
Valdez was an undefeated Mexican fighter, and obviously he's got a hell of a shit on him and a bright future. So that's a big win for Matt Frivola. Anytime you can take a guy's spoil his UFC debut, that's good stuff. All right, that's enough on the steamroll. I love the kid, but it's probably a good amount on him. What else you got? I was going to say, I did say earlier, do you know who has the most takedowns in UFC heavyweight history? If you don't know, it's Curtis Blades. That's who I'm giving Seattle Gone. No question about it. They gave him all sorts of strikers. They gave him Biggie Boy, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, gave him Alexander Volkov. Give him Curtis Blades. Oh,
yeah. I agree with you.
What you do? Right, Kenny? Dominic Cruz would always say, right, like the way they would methodically give him guys, with the tests stylistically, skill-wise that he had to pass en route to becoming a champion. And I think that's a test that's going to have to be passed, I don't know.
So, I take it you don't like Cyril Gane.
No, I
don't like
I want to see him prove that he can, Why?
Who do you like? Who do you like better? Who do you like better, Francis or Cyril?
I don't pick favorites. I like them both better than your dog. Sabotaging my podcast today.
Listen, wait, the other thing where I thought was a big mistake, and it could have been interpretation, I don't know, but when the corner was like, you can't lose this fight, you can't, that guy got, if that was the case, I don't know this because the guy was speaking French, but if that was the case, he was way too emotional in that fight, and that could have been a problem. You know, Kenny, because the guy, whoever was doing the voiceover, was like doing it in desperation. Like there was you can't lose this. You could see this guy was so
it's impossible. Our lives depend on it.
Yeah,
we must win this fight.
Viva France! You son of a bitch, you.
You can't put that on your fighter. I mean, imagine how your fighter would react. You're like, you need to do this for me. You know, it's like you can't.
This is not right. Francis cannot win this fight. Au revoir, Jon.
We congratulate Jack Della Maddalena, Tony Gravely, Vanessa Demopoulos, and Jasmine Jazz Devicius as well.
What
a night. How about Vanessa?
Wow, wait, say those names again.
You like the pronunciation? Jack Della Maddalena, Vanessa Demopoulos, Jasmine Jazz Devicius. It's all
Holy crap, Jon, that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
To do a job. I'm amazed that people like, and I'm not naming any names, but will not even ask and just go on television and get them wrong. Happens every weekend.
It does.
It's amazing.
What are you talking? Happens every Monday morning with me. What are you insulting me now?
No, but we don't
in front of the whole podcast.
That's the distinction, right?
Hey, look, we
don't pay you to get the pronunciations correct. Like for a broadcaster, you're paid, among other things, I would think, to get the fighters' names right. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, Jon, I always said, look, you're the consummate professional. But wait a minute, we also had our first stripper that got an armbar, Kenny. I mean, I'm sure that's not the first for you, but for the most of us, that was something new, you know.
That was a good comeback, huh?
To Kenny, let me tell you something. Holy crap. How does that go unnoticed, man? That girl got cold cocked and then hit hard, and then ground and pound was no joke either.
And then jumped into a split. I tore both of my groins. I tore 3 groins after that when I saw that. That was painful.
Knock it.
That was crazy. It was really crazy because I do believe the other girl was motorboating her first before she got on board too, but I'm not sure. It was hard to see from the angle I was looking at, Jon. Maybe you picked that up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of our listenership doesn't know that term, motorboats.
Oh my gosh!
Give them more credit. Give the loyal Minutemen more credit than you think.
Oh, the Minutemen. No, I'm not talking about the Minutemen. Our audience is skewing younger by the day, Ray. So, all right.
Then I'm in trouble. This ain't looking good.
Do we have a treat or something we could give to the animal?
Does he need to go outside? Is he going to shit right now on your lap?
No, definitely not.
Okay. All right. All right.
Well, hey, thanks for waking up early. How's Aljamain Sterling doing? It looks as though perhaps Jacksonville, Florida. Is that what I'm hearing? That would mean I could rent a car and drive to the pay-per-view.
April 9th, Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow.
I can't wait.
That's awesome. Exciting. You going to show up?
Man, unless there's a new variant, Jon.
Longo. It's so funny.
This isn't Jon, this isn't a joke. You know, this isn't a joke, but not for nothing, but Longo's immunity to COVID, jack shit. How's that? Natural.
Right.
Natural, baby.
Right. No
Although
vaccine,
I did get the flu shot this year. I wonder if that helped.
Yeah. By the way, Frivola will mention like Longo, Weidman, MMA. I was like so afraid to say anything that doesn't include Matt Serra's names. Made sure to mention that he's getting back in the gi with Matt Serra, right? Team Serra Longo. Make sure we don't offend anybody. You know.
Yeah, no, we're in a very politically correct world if you haven't noticed. But
yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Man. What else? That's it.
Well, no, I mean we got all.
I mean, you woke me up for this.
You watched the NFL yesterday?
Absolutely not.
Gosh, you're missing out. The most compelling.
Really, I'm missing out.
UFC,
what am I missing out on?
Oh,
this is bad.
Yeah.
All right, what else? We got any other?
People are only calling it the best weekend of NFL football in history.
Oh, is that what they're calling it?
Yeah. No, but well, I asked you how Aljo was doing. You didn't answer that question. You're asking me for more pointed questions. Do you have anything for us on Aljamain Sterling as he gets ready to fight Petr Yan for a second time? And training camp's probably starting, I would think, pretty soon here, if there indeed is a specific camp.
Yeah, he looked good. I saw him briefly.
Okay.
But that was it. But I was under the weather.
Certainly, his confidence does not seem to be phased one bit by the how it went. So
no, you're definitely not going to phase his confidence. I think he made that pretty obvious the last year and a half.
Yeah. And Merab Dvalishvili, I don't know if you saw the video of Merab on the treadmill, like the warrior that he is, Here, I'm so debilitated with this rib injury. This dude's got a clavicle that is in the worst shape, and he's doing, 12 miles an hour uphill incline sprints on the treadmill.
Well, you saw his x-ray. It's completely broken.
Yeah.
Looked like a clean break. But a mild, he's that guy from the Monty Python movie for all the young fans. A mild flesh wound, Kenny.
Yeah, let's just make sure he doesn't go head first to any ponds, any frozen ponds or lakes, or please.
He is that guy, though, right? He is that guy, Ray. You hit that well. All right, we got to get on out of here. Hey, thanks for your time. Oh, you know what? The last thing I did have for you today, right, is, I hear this noise like, professional boxers, whether it's Jake Paul or someone else, it's like, they talk all this shit, but they won't come to MMA. And it's like, yeah, because there's wrestling and grappling. Like, obviously, there have been MMA fighters that have been suggested to not go box, like Ben Askren, because the results won't be good, But for most professional mixed martial arts athletes, Kenny and Ray, boxing is a part of what they are doing, whereas wrestling and grappling is totally foreign to these other guys. So to me, it's like, it's easy to say, like, yeah, why doesn't Tyson Fury come to MMA? And it's like, fucking because, okay? Francis Ngannou has been wrestling and grappling for almost a decade, So even though Ngannou would be a massive underdog in a boxing setting, it's much easier to see why that would happen and why they wouldn't do MMA, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
I mean, it's like, come on. Like, I'd love to see it too, but James Toney, we saw it.
Well, I mean, you got to remember. So and it's similar to wrestling. You see, the MMA guys going. They do jiu-jitsu matches. They do wrestling matches. They go outside of MMA.
Yeah.
But it's those guys. A lot of jiu-jitsu champions aren't jumping into MMA either. A lot of wrestling champs are. It's just the way it is. So you put that pretty nicely.
All right.
Lucky, stop it.
All right. Well, have a great day. Cody just wrote to me in the private chat, you can stretch, JA, don't rush. I think that's actually sarcasm, I hope. Because I ain't never going to stretch just to fucking fill air. Of that, I can assure you.
I'll tell you, it's that big.
Ken Flo's got a fucking radio interview at 11:15 a.m. Eastern anyway. So,
John, don't excite yourself. You're hurt. Don't make it any worse.
You're right.
Seriously.
All right. Hey, I love you.
All right. You guys are the best. I'm pissed because I wanted to see it too. So that killed me.
I was so upset. Like, I went out of my way to try to find Sal the Bulldozer Favola, and I didn't even know.
Excited.
Friday, I was just assuming that you were coming in late, so it ruined my whole day. But we will catch up in Jacksonville, if not soon.
Awesome, guys. All right, take it easy. I will see you.
My man.
See you, Rick.
His hair looks pretty good. Looks like he got a haircut. Fucking dog. All right. One thing I want to do today. So, every year I pick one team that I think is going to win the Super Bowl, and I place a fairly large bet on that team. Now, this year it just so happened to be one of the New England Patriots' foremost rivals. So this is a ticket that I'm going to enjoy ripping up on the Anik and Florian podcast today a little bit. I do feel bad for Mark Henry and Billy Quarantello and the Bills fans because they were 13 seconds away from beating the Chiefs. And I do think had they kicked the ball out of the end zone late, ran a few ticks, maybe they win the game. So this, from Circus Sports, this bet was placed on July 11th. So I was out there for International Fight Week last year, $450 on the Buffalo Bills at 12-1 to win the Super Bowl. And they were one of the favorites for most of the season. And this ticket should still be alive. So it's $450 to win $5,400. So total payout to collect $5,850, or as my brother would say, total payout to collect is fucking zero. So if you're just listening, you're not going to see this, but for the viewers, so there's the ticket, 12-1, $450 cost. They were going to host the AFC Championship against the Cincinnati Bengals had they won that football game last night. And I think we were probably going to win 6 Gs. That's outstanding.
Ripping it up.
Works again. And you can be sure at whatever price, I'll be betting on the Buffalo Bills next year. We'll try to take them down again.
I used to question your motives here. You've been doing this for years, but it's so smart because you win every single time, John. You're happy that they lose,
right, or
you make yourself some money and you get a little win for the Patriots. I mean, not in this case, but you see one of the rivals go down. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Well, thank you, man. And you're right. Like, I do soften the blow of a Patriots loss, but the craziest bet that I've ever placed, and people think this is insane, right? So when the Patriots came back to beat the Falcons in that Super Bowl, right?
Oh my gosh.
So the Falcons were up 28-3, right? Sportsbooks, I didn't even think they would be offering a live bet on the Falcons to win because they were up 28-3. It was late in the second half. So I put $500 on the Falcons at that point in time to win $27. So that just shows you how pathetic my distance really is, right? That at that point in time, I felt like, I was trying to win $27. I'm trying to take the Falcons down. Felt like the only way I could do it. I made a $500 deposit online and to pay 27. And of course I lost that bet.
Unreal. But it worked. The Patriots won. So yeah.
All right, next week, very excited for this. We will certainly get predictions on UFC Fight Night for February 5th from James Krause and Ken Flo, but it's our intern sweepstakes. So next week, we are going to play all of your video submissions. Everybody knows who they are. Kenny and I will not see your videos until we see them live on the air. You've all been given 60 seconds. If you haven't submitted, better get on that. And then the three of us are going to vote. Kenny, Cody, and I are all going to come up with the top three, and then we're going to determine who is the winner of the 2022 Anik and Florian podcast intern sweepstakes. So that is coming up next Monday, January 31st. Ken Flo has been working for a long time on his Jiu-Jitsu Essentials video. That is now up on his YouTube channel, which is directly linked to the Anik and Florian podcast YouTube channel right here. Also, don't forget, remember the show Back in Your Lives this Thursday night. Merchandise is still going strong at the Anik and Florian podcast store. You can go to AnikFlorianPodcast.com. And thank you all for supporting the One More Sleep movement. We got on a billboard in Times Square, Ken Flo. I don't know if you saw the post, but only because people supported the One More Sleep movement. Like, we started selling merchandise at millions.co, and we ended up being one of the top 3 sellers in 2020.
That's awesome.
So we got on the billboard in Times Square, and it's only because of the MMA fan base, whom I'm eternally grateful for their support. So thank you guys very much. Outsold Bruce Buffer. Buff's coming up to me. He's like, hey, Millions did you solid, put you on Times Square. I said, we did ourselves a fucking solid. Fucking selling One More Sleep merchandise. Don't be doing anything. Shit is earned.
By the way, kudos again to Bruce Buffer not throwing down with Frank Trigg in the octagon. I thought it was going to get ugly, dude. I thought those guys have a history. And
when you tweeted that, bro, I'm like, bro, dying over here. I saw that tweet. Absolutely golden stuff out of a normally hostile Ken Flo. All right, we are back with you next Monday. Intern sweepstakes and, of course, a preview of UFC Fight Night. What's that main event? Jack Hermanson and Sean Strickland? Is that the next one?
Yes, sir.
Excited about that. All right, thanks to our producer, Cody Merrill. Thanks to Ray Longo. Lighten up the program as usual. For Ken Flo, I'm Jon Anik. We will talk to you next Monday. Thanks for subscribing, listening, viewing. Tell your friends. Yo, later.